G'day punters, here we are for a bit of Punting Melbourne style. I'm joined by the punters punter, Dan Kelly.
Hi Pots.
How are you, mate?
Yeah, mate. Good. Post carnival made it through.
Yeah, we're through, mate.
Straight through, barely.
A little bit battle weary, but
yeah,
I'll bounce back, mate. I'll be right.
Here we are, Melbourne.
That's it.
The Emerald.
In the Emerald.
30 degrees today. In Mexico.
In the studio here.
Hard to beat, mate.
Hopefully we get the show out of the way before all the racing riders turn up there.
Big racing riders. Just saw the great Alan Thomas there. A few fans on Twitter of the great Alan Thomas, so we might have to have a chat to him, get a photo later on.
Yeah, no, there'll be a big crowd of me.
Yeah.
So before we get into anything else, I thought we'd just touch on the carnival, particularly the Flemington aspect of it. I mean, I went into Flemington off a good leg at Moonee Valley. That was good.
Moonee Valley. Mystic Journey.
Mystic Journey. Yeah, there we go.
There we go.
There we go. Like
that was a good. I tuned in.
Beautiful.
Because I knew that's one where I sort of I targeted, and then you really liked it. I think Trevor Lawson liked it, and everyone lined up on it, and so I thought I'd better have something like this, even though I was betting at Sonana and wherever else.
Well, your comments really got me. I had an extra close look at it after we did the show that day because everything you said was absolutely right. She really did put a hole in them that day, and she's that group of fillies. She's got something on them.
It's a big win at Moonee Valley.
It was a huge win. It was
3 wide on a fast tempo. And
he sort of almost torched it, really.
Yeah, he just rode it. This is a moral. I just ride it like a moral.
Mm.
It's a smart horse.
Yeah.
It's got a really good record now anyway. So Moonee Valley, coming out of Moonee Valley.
I have to admit, DK, that feels like a long time ago. Anyway, and then so the 4 days at Flemington, I had a chop out on the Derby Day, 2 losing days, particularly painful days at Cup Day and Oaks Day, and then let's call it a chop out on the last day. It wasn't hard. You could have easily snuck over the line there, but a difficult cup week. But when I look back at it, I've done about 3/4 of the review work that I need to do, and I'm not in love with everything I did, but I'm not that disappointed either. I didn't make any obvious mistakes. All week we were ahead of the market and backed a lot of horses at really good prices, so there was something there. And really, the reality is the results. The racing over that week is so competitive. The margins are so narrow. So normally, let's just talk about a normal Melbourne Saturday meeting. You might have in a lot of the races 3 main chances and 3 fringe dwellers. Well, in these races you've got 4 or 5 main chances and another 5 to 10 fringe dwellers. So it's fraught. And there's always, as an example, on pretty sure it could have been Oaks Day, I think. I decided that I didn't mind the race from Pakenham where Global Sanction and Wild Seed dead hooted, and they beat the Sooner Fiducia by a head. Right? Just the way the draw was and everything else was, I thought they've probably got him covered. So I backed those 2 at good odds and leaving the Sooner Fiducia out. They run down the track and it wins, and it's
that's painful.
It is because you're on the right track, but you've just made one of those split decisions. You've gone the wrong way, and it's very expensive.
Costly.
And the whole week was a bit like that. So I just want to, before we get too far away from it, I just want to remember, in terms of the hard to take, bad beat type scenarios, I've just got to put Junipal in the Hall of Fame.
Blame the owners. Up they were in the grandstand, I thought, at the 100, which is, you're not, the thing is there, the owners, I think it might have improved at the new stand. You don't understand where the owners sit is like at the 200 or 300 metre mark.
Run past you.
They run past you and you're looking and you're really excited, they're excited and everything, but anyway, I think there was an early crow there that got your Pots. The gambling god said this bloke got to get this goal.
Yeah, that one hurt.
No, that hurt, down to clear.
And I did back a wrist during the Oaks, and you go to the last race there, and it's an example of the carnival all week. I understand why all the punters that back Blue Roche liked her. Okay, she did do it tough at Moonee Valley, and she was, she was one of the strong chances in that race. But she was one of the only. Whichever horse won that race in the end was going to be lucky because there was going to be a stack of unlucky runners.
That's right. There was, which there was.
So that's what happened. I mean, as it turns out, I think my opinion is they got lucky not in terms of backing the winner, but they took unders and got away with it. But that's my view. Right now, I might be wrong. All right. I intended to back 4 horses in that race, but I ended up not backing Hummer because I thought I just couldn't bring myself to take that kind of price in that kind of race, and just. To make the point, I backed 3 runners at $16, $10 and $31. They've all been beaten less than a neck and they've all been unlucky. So it was Shildora, who Jack Tayrope weaved an interesting passage. Multaja, who...
You're fresh horse, there it was. And the Waller horse.
And the Viola. And like Kieran's covered himself in glory over the carnival, but he slaughtered a few. And he went Voila directly into Manuel, 2 in a row.
Yeah.
Thanks, Kieran.
When you're not getting the rub of the green.
No.
Anyway.
That's sort of the nature of the week for me, DK. And the main reason I like to talk about when we're doing this show is because we've had a lot of discussions over the period about dealing with bad runs. And
people want to hear it. That's we're not here to gloat and promote. People have said to me, as I said outside, we get more out of it when you talk about how to handle the bad runs and the bad beats and moving on and things like that. So that's why we talk about it.
So typically, a week wouldn't qualify as a bad run, but when it's a cup week and there's so many races and your turnover's so high, it feels like a bad run. But there's nothing more important in my view than having the wherewithal to deal with those things. So as it turns out for me, I've knocked off about 9 or 10% of my bank over the week, which is disappointing and painful. But you've got to be able to review it really surgically and just look at the things you've done right, recognise the errors that you've made, and be able to move on to the next bet with no emotion carried with you. You've got over the course of the week. So when Juniper got beat, I had to get up and go for a little walk because I just couldn't believe it. Given the week we had, I just thought this is just going to top me right off. At the time, it's very emotional.
It was the middle of the week or something, wasn't it? You still got some on me.
That was race 7 Thursday.
Race 7 Thursday, right.
But by Friday morning, I got up and I just put my head down and did the set for Saturday. And Saturday was one of those almost a great set, but just a couple of little things. Probably could have
Manuel getting beat in the first.
That's momentum. And there's a couple of races there. Like I probably should have stayed out of the sprint race. Like as I'm doing the sprint race on such a. To me, it's one of those races that's very condensed and the ratings are very tight together. I'm thinking, this is good. I'm not going to be betting in this race. I'd sort of had Brave Smash second pick, and I go to the market. It's a double overlay, and I think, I'm going to get involved in this race on one. It's not my top pick, and so anyway, I only bet 7 units on the race, but it makes them sort of things that up make the difference. I suppose you just need to jag a few of those rolls, and you probably shouldn't be too hard on yourself either, because I did something similar in the last race. Now the 2 horses I had clear, the problem with them was they were both resuming, so there's a leap of faith involved there. They can get Betfairitis easily, you know what I mean? And in the end, one of them did, and one of them didn't. And you know which one won? The one that didn't. The one that did, Urak, it's in Nebraska. So there you go. So I don't want to be too hard on myself saying I should have stayed out of the Red Zell race. Then, if I had taken that approach, I probably wouldn't have bet in the last race. So,
just quickly, you're a track walker pots, as we all know. So just get your comment on Saturday into Tuesday with that firm track, the 5 mils, the rain forecast. Just a quick, with your thoughts on that.
The whole week. So the whole week's very interesting because before I must have been after Saturday. Nick Williams was on the radio saying
didn't stop
to Mickey Felgate, I need to come on the show, we need to talk about track preparation. Well, what's he going to say now? I'd really like to hear it, because I think it's too easy to forget why Flemington was designed and built that way, led by Mick Goody, to be able to cope with those type of conditions.
Exactly.
And so it means that over the course of the year and winter and stuff like that, we never lose a meeting, and most of them are run on either 3s, 4s or 5s. You really need significant race day rain for it to be anything worse. And as we saw on Cup Day, with 2 inches of rain while they were racing on it, the track still improved to, I would say, the times they've run on Cup Day later in the card look like a 6 to me.
Amazing.
It's just incredible.
Incredible.
So first, right off the bat, I thought the track race great on Derby Day. And the problem for the argument that people want to have about the tracks being prepared softer, they shouldn't be arguing for more irrigation. More irrigation creates more problems. What they have to argue for, if they want to argue for that, are tracks that retain more moisture. Now, I would put to them that Randwick's in that situation, and they have chronic problems at Randwick because of the amount of moisture that it does retain. Because I don't think it'd be very hard this time of year when you get 30-degree days to put enough irrigation on Flemington to keep it as a full. I think it'd matter. So all you're doing is then creating lanes by running the irrigator around the track, and in the home straight they use the sprinklers now. So if there's wind, it can go go on unevenly. And as soon as you put more irrigation on the track and you get weather like that, you get poa growing in the grass. So all sorts of things come from it. And I think we've just been slowly lured into this idea of the tracks being too firm because we've had basically a drought in Melbourne the last couple of years with hardly any rain. So
I just heard the track manager from Kilmore this morning. We had all that rain last week, and he put 30 mils on.
Yeah.
It's been windy and warm and things like that, 30 mils just to get the track in a good four-range,
Yeah. And then it just grows so robustly. So Cup Day, it was just amazing. I walked it on, say 2 o'clock Monday afternoon, and it was really, it was late, it was about 3 o'clock. And I'd spoke to another guy that had walked it before lunch, and when he walked it, he thought it was like a 3.5. And when I walked it, it was on the firmer side of a 3. It was getting firm at that stage. And I saw Liam, and he wasn't sure what to do because the forecast, but the forecast was only for 5 to 15 mils.
Yeah, that's right. 15.
The forecast was never for 50. That wasn't on the agenda.
The bureau. Imagine them being.
So then they pushed it back because they thought it was going to start running at 2 a.m. They pushed it back to 8. So that's when he decided to put the 5 mil on. Now I would say, if he had not have put that 5 mil on, and we had the rain that we had, because the way that track was firming up, then we had that morning rain, it would have all sat on the surface.
They had a problem with the surface water anyway.
And the 2-year-olds, it would have been unbelievably dangerous, and we would have been at risk of losing the meeting. So I think it was in the end, a really wise decision for that 5 mil to go on, because it prepares the ground and allows it to soak in. Mick Goody always used to say to me, Potts, when the rain's coming, I like to put at least a couple of mil on it so it can get straight into the profile and not sit on top, because the crispier is on top, the longer it sits on top.
No, and with all that rain falling in such a short space of time.
The best case scenario for me would have been, given the circumstances, that they would have had to have a delay of at least an hour to give it a chance to soak in. And then they might have had a 15-minute delay or whatever. Then the way it recovered was outstanding. And then again, I walked the track ahead of the Oaks meeting on Wednesday, and it was drying, but it was warm, so you sort of thought it's probably going to race like a 4. And then we had another 7 mil overnight after I walked it, and of Oaks Day, so which put it back to a 5. Then it's raced like a 4 anyway.
It's amazing track.
It's outstanding. And on Saturday it was terrific.
Yeah.
The wear was even. It looked like it was going to race even. It raced even. So great job to Liam and the team.
Yeah, for
and,
sure.
Can I just say, from my personal point of view, I just want to. A lot of people will think I'm. I'll say I'm not going to. I'm just going to say what I want to say. Great job to Mick Goody. He's the one that built that track and designed it, put all the legwork into it. And there were times when Mick got criticism for some of the tinkering he did over the time, but the track is like it is because of the work he put into it over many years. So,
I think Eagle Farm, that's Mick's got a big hand in what's going on up there. So hopefully it'll be something, a great track up there as well.
Get it back to its former glory, DK.
Yeah.
So that's a pretty good whack at Flemington, isn't it?
The other thing I want to ask you, mate, I know it's a huge week for blokes like you who do full sets, you and Trevor Lawson, and there's a lot of guys who do full sets, but I think it'd be interesting, what sort of hours are we looking at for a week like that for someone like you? I mean, I know you're around about an hour a race, man, normally, but these are bigger fields and, things like that. Plus you've got, Melbourne Cup Day, I suppose you're in front of the computer betting from 9 a.m. till 6 p.m. is on top of doing the form, so I'm thinking you've had a massive week hours-wise.
Yeah, I wouldn't even know, adding the hours up there, I wouldn't know. But these races over the carnival, I say on average take almost twice as long as normal Saturday races, because you're dealing with so many horses that you don't know. So the imports are a nightmare.
Yeah.
Like they're almost half an hour a horse. So you go for the Melbourne Cup runners that you've never seen that are fresh off the plane, right? You've got to go and watch at least 5 replays, and they're all 2 to 3 minutes a race. You know what I mean? Like, it's easy to find half an hour to analyse them horses. Just trying to get some sort of handle on them, and there's like, I don't know, there would have been half a dozen that were fresh off the plane in the Cup. I know there were others that we'd had a look at in the Caulfield Cup and the Herbert Power and whatever, but and then you've got Sydney runners, I do all the ratings for Sydney Saturdays, but if they're coming from a Wednesday, like so there was that horse that is a real horse to follow, I think, I don't even know how to say it,
Putuku or whatever it was, yeah.
Like it's just a really good win at Warwick Farm, so I had to spend the whole time going over that meeting at Warwick Farm trying to get a decent rating for that horse. And I honestly would have had it in my numbers if it had have been 1400 to 1400, but because it was 1200 to 1400 going back to last, I decided to leave it out just to watch it do almost what I thought it would do. It's one of those split decisions I'm talking about, and it's trying to almost play catch up on these horses because I don't work in Sydney anymore. There's a horse I see, I don't know. I'm looking at it backwards, trying to retrofit it in a way in a race with horses I know, and then of course you've got plenty of Adelaide horses, there's Queensland horses, so there's just so many horses that you don't know, and
the 20 horse fields and
the big
maps
fields
and everything. So
yeah, so I don't know, Duke. I think by the time you go and walk the track, do all the races, I would have. The last Saturday was by far the most efficient. I reckon I probably knocked it over in 8 hours. I reckon from including the track book. I did all the maps on Thursday after the Oaks meeting, and I got up really early Friday morning, and I basically had a rating for every horse by the time I left to go and walk the track at 1 o'clock. And then I come back and just I had my rating and prices and just cleaned it up when I got back. The Cup meeting was a nightmare. It would have been twice as long as a normal Saturday card takes.
Yeah, no.
So yeah, it's a
big effort, mate. It's a big week.
Yeah,
big blokes. Yep. We commend you for it.
I mean, I really enjoyed it, and the good thing is, there'll be some spillover that going to the Sandown meeting because you've done all that work. It gives you, there are still opportunities to cash in on some of it at some point. So, it's worth talking about what's coming up. So we've got a terrific meeting at Sandown on Saturday. Then I'm not sure exactly the order because there's the Ballarat meeting, the Moonee Valley meeting, and then Pakenham. I think it goes something like that.
Oh, okay.
So I won't be doing a full set for Pakenham this year. I probably won't be getting involved at all. At the most, I'd identify 1 or 2 races that might interest me. But if I think the surface is a concern there at all, I just won't be playing because I think it's such a unique surface. It's a different type of turf, and it's not really ready for racing this time of year.
It was very shifty that meeting the other night, whenever it was.
I did notice something at that meeting now, DK, and then again when I was doing a bit of review work on Moe yesterday. There's a young man trying to resurrect his career, riding magnificently. Jay Maskell,
yeah, no, good on him. Came back over here and...
Good on him. So he seems to be, what's he doing, just coming over when it suits him, or is he over here permanently?
No, I'd have to look a little bit more. I think he's going over and back. But,
that's what it looks like.
Yeah.
Jeez, I mean, like watching the replays, I'm thinking, who's that on that horse? Like
he
stood out. Like he looked like one of the top class riders.
Just punching out that thoughtful harmony in the straight yesterday. He's got it to go.
Yeah, wow. Did he what?
I'll talk to you about that later.
Yeah, okay. So I thought that was really interesting, and so let's just that'll do us part 1.
Back with a bit more in part 2.
Beautiful.